Hi guys, this is Andre, Horizon City News, and I'm creating this video today in regards to a open records request which I recently submitted in I guess mid to late last month on September 23rd, 2024 regarding a virtual meeting, a Microsoft Teams meeting that was conducted by the Horizon City, Texas town government, which was apparently headed by the mayor because he was one of the elected representatives that was attending this virtual conference, this Microsoft Teams meeting. This meeting involved the mayor, the chief of police, Marco Vargas, the city attorney, the town clerk, Elvia Schuler, the finance director, Ms. Gaytan, and one other city employee. I think her name is Acosta. I'm not looking at the paperwork right now, but there was one other additional city employee in addition to the finance director, Lily Gaytan. So this meeting was held virtually, like I said, via Microsoft Teams. And the reason I'm creating this video to document my inquiry into this virtual meeting, this Microsoft Teams meeting, is because when I did an open records request regarding this particular meeting, the town government of Horizon City, Texas has not provided me the agenda, which is required by the Texas Open Meetings Act, or the minutes that are required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. And also, I believe that there's supposed to be a recording of this meeting that is supposed to be, since it's a virtual meeting, that a recording of this virtual meeting was supposed to have been kept. And also, since this meeting was not held publicly, apparently, based on my research, this is what's considered a closed meeting. So I believe that means that there should be a certified agenda. So the reason I'm creating a video regarding this open records request I recently submitted back on September 23rd is because not only did I not receive the documents I just mentioned, the agenda, the minutes, the recording of the meeting, a certified agenda, not only did I not receive any of those documents or the video recording, but also the open records request itself, the one I submitted on September 23rd regarding this virtual meeting. The town government and the law firm for the town government has apparently tried to redact portions of the records that they did release to me, claiming that there's attorney-client privilege. So I immediately, as soon as I had a chance, I wrote a response letter to the town government claiming that, I'm creating a dispute that I guess is going to be adjudicated by the Texas Attorney General's office. And I'm disputing that any of those records regarding this virtual meeting that occurred on January 29th, 2024, that none of those records should be redacted because none of them should be subject to attorney-client privilege since it was supposed to be a public meeting. So unless that public meeting dealt with something that's specifically exempted by the Texas Open Meetings Act or the Public Information Act, such as, for example, if they had an executive session or, they were discussing something about a real estate transaction or something like that that goes in executive session and closed meetings, unless it's for a very specific reason, the government shouldn't be able to just make blanket declarations of attorney-client privilege as a backdoor way to get around the Texas Public Information Act and release documents that are supposed to be public. That's my opinion. So that's why I'm disputing the open record release that I received, which I believe it was October 3rd. I finally received the open records. When I had submitted the open records request, it was on September 23rd, and then I believe it was October 3rd when the government finally gave me the records, which, again, I did not receive the agenda, I did not receive the minutes, and I did not receive any video recording of the virtual meeting that happened on January 29th, 2024, which was apparently conducted by Mayor Andres Renteria, mayor of Horizon City, Texas. So I'm still seeking those records, which should exist, because this was a meeting held by the government. So there should have been an agenda, a notice that was posted, minutes that were created, and a video recording of the virtual meeting. So those documents I'm still seeking, because they were not released to me as of this time. And again, they should exist, because that's what's required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. So that's why I'm creating this video, is to document these discrepancies that I'm finding. And like I've said in previous videos, I will be turning over any information that I believe is government misconduct to the El Paso County, Texas District Attorney's Office, and to the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Texas Rangers, and to any other government agency that might be interested, like the FBI or maybe some state representatives in the state government. I'm not quite sure, but I know that it definitely should go to the El Paso County, Texas District Attorney's Office, and probably to the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Texas Rangers, because I heard the Texas Rangers investigate violations of the Texas Open Meetings Act. So that's where I'm at. And again, there was a virtual meeting that was held by the Horizon City, Texas town government, apparently conducted by Mayor Andres Renteria, mayor of Horizon City, Texas. It was a virtual conference that was held via Microsoft Teams, and it was held on the afternoon of January 29th, 2024. The topic of the meeting, according to the documents. But of course, I can't verify exactly what was said, because I didn't receive any recording. But just based on the paperwork I did receive, the topic claimed by the documents is that they were discussing the upcoming union bargaining meeting that was going to be held, later in February of 2024, and then throughout the year. But that meeting itself, the virtual meeting that happened on January 29th, 2024, is required by law to be notified to the public by a notice placed in a conspicuous place, as required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. There should be an agenda for the meeting. There should be all the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act are supposed to be met. And until I receive documents showing that the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act were met, then I'm automatically suspicious that the Texas Open Meetings Act was again violated by the Horizon City, Texas town government on this particular occasion on January 29th, 2024. I already have evidence of a violation of the Texas Open Meetings Act on February 28th, 2024. That was a separate meeting. That's the first violation I found. But now I'm very suspicious about this virtual meeting that happened on January 29th, 2024. So again, that's why I'm creating this video. And let me just jump into some other portions of videos that I've created in the past, which will fill anyone in who's watching this as to, maybe some background information or just any other relevant information regarding this open records request and the dispute that I'm having with the town government of Horizon City, Texas, regarding redacted portions of the documents that were released to me in early October regarding this open records request from September 23rd, 2024, regarding this January 29th, 2024 virtual meeting. So I think one of the first things to jump into would be the phone call I had on September 16th, 2024, regarding when I was just trying to verify what this meeting even was, because it was only listed as TCW. It used an acronym. It wasn't even very clear to me exactly what type of meeting it was at the time. So on September 16th, 2024, I called the law firm for the town government of Horizon City, Texas, and I verbally asked them for clarification of what this meeting was. They didn't have to respond, because the government legally doesn't have to respond to questions, verbal questions. They only have to respond to written open records requests legally. So I received no response to my verbal question. So 1 week later, on September 23rd, 2024, is when I submitted an official open records request regarding this meeting. And like I said, I finally got a response on October 3rd, 2024. But just as a refresher, here's the recording, or a portion of the recording that I had made regarding my inquiry into this January 2024 meeting, when I made my verbal inquiry back on September 16th, 2024. At the end of this video is a recording of that phone call.
Well, the most obvious way that consent is present in our political practice today is by elections.
The American Revolution, with its rallying cry of no taxation without representation, was based on the idea that government gets its just powers from the people. This principle is known as consent of the governed. We take this principle for granted today, but the idea that a free people could rule themselves was rare in a time when monarchs had been making claims to greater and greater power. They claimed that this power over others, or sovereignty, was granted by God. In response to the growing appetite of monarchs for more power, many began to argue that the only just government power was that which the people had granted. This doctrine is clear in the Declaration of Independence. Political theorists, including John Locke, propose that people come together voluntarily to form a community. They agreed to go from a state of nature with no ordered society to establishing protections that government can give, the security of their life, liberty, and property. Consent of the governed is also known as popular sovereignty, in contrast to monarchical sovereignty or the claimed divine right of kings to rule. Government derives its just powers from the people. The famous phrase from the Declaration, "All men are created equal," meant that there were no natural rulers among people. No one, not a king, not a queen, not a duke or baron, was born with the right to rule over others without their consent.
Well, the most important thing for citizens to understand is the relationship between consent on the one hand and freedom and equality on the other. We say that legitimate government requires the consent of the governed, but why? Why consent? Well, we can say, why shouldn't the wise rule on account of their wisdom? Or why shouldn't the religious rule on account of their piety? Well, the answer is because we're all born free and equal. I can actually explain this by using a different example. All bees are not created equal. There are worker bees by nature and queen bees by nature. And the worker bees don't hold elections to make the queen bees queen. They're born queen bees by nature. Well, that's not true among human beings. There are no kings by nature, no queens by nature, no workers by nature. We're all equal by nature. And that means government among equals, since we're equally born with the right to rule ourselves. Well, that means when we institute government, government among equals must be via consent.
The British colonists in North America believed that they had reverted to that theoretical state of nature when the King and Parliament repeatedly refused to protect their rights as Englishmen. They instituted new governments in their states, on the national level with the Articles of Confederation in 1781, and then again with the Constitution in 1789. They did so in all cases not on the basis of conquest or claimed divine right, but following processes based on the consent of the people. These principles of equality and consent of the governed are clear in the Declaration of Independence, and so is another principle, the right of revolution. When the government acts in ways outside the purpose for which it was established, the people have the right to alter or abolish it. The Declaration was grounded on principles echoed in other important documents and by many in the founding generation: George Mason, John Locke, Alexander Hamilton, Brutus, James Madison. This doctrine of popular sovereignty is the idea that government gets its power from the people, and not the other way around. While monarchs give privileges, just governments protect rights that are pre-existing. The people tell the government what it can and cannot do, not the other way around.
So long as the kings thought that authority belonged to them of right, that it was theirs somehow, they sometimes came to the idea that the point of the whole governing arrangement was for their ends, to serve their purposes. And this is really what the theory of popular sovereignty came on the ground to challenge. The purposes are the purposes of the people and not the purposes of the rulers. And that remains an important point in theory, not always achieved in practice.
Popular sovereignty was a response to monarchical sovereignty, but it alone would not be a solution to the historical problem of governments growing too strong. A government resting on the consent of the governed would not mean that additional checks on power were no longer needed. While a king might be limited by a Bill of Rights or list of limits on his power, the Constitution of 1789 would establish limited and representative government, separation of powers with checks and balances, federalism, and other mechanisms to keep government power from growing too strong. A Bill of Rights would be added in 1791 in response to state demands for further declaratory clauses that would limit the national government's power. Finally, in our constitutional republic, liberty can only be secure as long as citizens remain committed to the rule of law and to their crucial role as the final authority on government power.
Hey, sir, how are you?
Hello.
How's everything?
I have some concerns.
What's up, buddy? You want to talk now, or you want to wait till after?
No, I think you've got probably some things you need to do, so.
Actually, they're going to have to. They had asked that we can kind of postpone the meeting just a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay.
They're waiting on some folks, so I don't know if it's something you want to bring up. You want to talk about now, or you want to set up an appointment, or?
Well, no, it doesn't have to be all formal like that.
Okay.
Just, I feel at the very least I'd like to mention, again, which I don't know if I mentioned it directly to you before, but I've mentioned it to your clerk. And I also put it in writing in more than one email. At least I did one today, but also at least one in the past.
Yes, sir.
And the first issue that I have is that on February 28th, 2024, the notice for that meeting was not done properly.
The notice for the initial
Deliberation meeting between
for the negotiation for CBA.
Right, for the police union and the town government.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's one big issue right there. If we don't talk about anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and I'll talk to legal to make sure that everything was done correctly. From what my understanding, everything was done properly and per the law, per state law. So, so I'll review that with them just to make sure that everything's on the up and up. And I want to make sure that everything here in Horizon is in the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, sir. And going hand in hand with that issue that I just brought up is that a few days later, the city clerk, and she actually personally handed me a copy, and I forget exactly what day it was. The city clerk then created another document because the original notice was posted by Lieutenant Casey Valdez on February 15th.
Okay.
And
do you mind if I write all this down just that way?
Sure.
So initial notice was on February 15th, correct?
Yeah, Lieutenant Casey Valdez did it, and she apparently has always been doing the notices for all the past union meetings. When I say all, I mean the past couple, because I guess the union only was created in like 2017.
Yes, sir.
But, so yeah, it was February 15th, Lieutenant Valdez posted a notice, and, you know, I was no expert then, and I was definitely no expert then, but I've learned a little bit more now. But even as not being an expert in the Texas Open Meetings Act, I could tell that notice was definitely not in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. It was very vague, and it had no agenda. I called Adam Bastillos and Elvia Schuler, the records clerk and the town clerk, and both of them openly admitted they never even created an agenda. She said she took no minutes, and initially she wasn't even aware that the union deliberation meetings between the town government and the police union, that the Texas Open Meetings Act even applied at all. So that later got cleared up on March 18th by the city attorney. But initially, the town clerk, as far as she was concerned, the Texas Open Meetings Act didn't even apply. Okay. Yeah, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go over this and make sure that everything's documented correctly and make sure that everything was done correctly per hour. If there were any issues, they, you know, we are now at the end of April, going into May, and I'm sure that they would have, notified me saying, hey, you know what, there was a mistake, but nobody has notified me yet of that. So, but I'll go ahead and review that with them just to make sure. So,
Yes, sir.
cool.
Work with Linda speaking. How can I help you?
I'm sorry, you said Melissa?
Melinda.
Oh, Belinda?
Melinda, yes, with the M.
Oh, Melinda, okay. Yes, my name is Andre, and I live in Horizon City, Texas. I'm a resident here, and I had a question about a particular legal expense that was charged on January 30th to the town government of Horizon City.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry,
So you have
quick correction. Slight correction. It's January 29th, 2024, not the 30th. It was the 29th.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Legarin, this is regarding a request that the firm has worked on. Is that correct?
Yes, this is a previous request, which was ultimately released to me in early June of this year, and then on that document, which was a couple pages long, which is what was released to me, within that document revealed a charge on January 29th, 2024 for legal expenses, and the amount of the legal expense, the bottom line total was $116.50, and it was billed by, I'm sorry?
I'm taking notes. I'm just saying yes, okay.
Okay, yeah, and so it was billed by the city attorney, Sylvia B. First. It was for, a half hour of legal expenses. Her rate is $233 an hour, so the bottom line total was $116.50 for that January 29th legal expense.
Okay, January 29th. Okay. Okay. I'm going to have to get some more information from you. And what is your question about it? And also, what's your phone number?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to reach me by phone, but I'll give you my number anyway. It's 915-781 4330. The town government and Sylvia First, the city attorney, we've exchanged numerous emails over the past year. I've exchanged numerous emails with the town government in general for several years, but Sylvia First herself actually sent me an email earlier this year, so I'm sure she has my email. And the reason I say that is because I prefer to correspond by email. It's much easier for me.
Okay.
So one of my questions, because you did ask what is my question, one of my primary questions is if the Borges law firm and the town government are willing to answer this question, because the town government and the law firm, they don't legally have to answer questions. But my question is, was this charge of $116.50, was this for the Borges law firm and the town government conducting a telephone conference, like a meeting that was conducted by a telephone between, several individuals?
Okay, so let me, because I'm taking notes here. So, was this for basically the firm and the town?
Yes, I'm trying to determine what exactly this charge is for. It appears, because if you read the letters, which I have right here in front of me, it says all capitals TCW, which I assume that means telephone conference. So it says TCW, Mayor and Chief, HR and Elvia. Now Elvia is the town clerk, and then it says regarding collective bargaining processes, etc. So TCW, Mayor and Chief, HR and Elvia regarding collective bargaining processes. And that's it. That's all it says. It's one quick sentence, which is fine because it's just a log entry. But I'm trying to determine if that means that there was a telephone conference held that day on January 29th, 2024, if that's what this expense is for.
Okay, so I'm going to try to paraphrase this now that I understand, because I don't have the invoice. You're looking at the invoice, and it would take me a while to get there. So,
Right.
So your question is this $116.50 charge from January 29th, the entries from January 29th, 2024, and it's described as TCW Mayor and Chief, and then you said Mayor and Elvia regarding collective bargaining. Is that correct?
I'll read it to you word for word. You almost got it, but not quite 100% right. So I'll read it to you word for word. That way you could take it down word for word. It's
sure.
January 29th, 2024 entry of some sort of legal expense document, because what was released to me, vast portions of it were redacted with big, huge blocks of blackness. But the portion that was released to me, one entry does say January 29th, 2024, and then all capitals, TCW, so that's like one acronym, and then the rest of the sentence is Mayor and Chief. So TCW, Mayor and Chief, comma.
Okay.
And then after the comma, it has capital H, capital R, which I assume is Human Resources. And then after HR, it's and Elvia.
Okay.
And then the rest of the sentence is regarding collective bargaining processes, etc., etc.
Okay. So TCW Mayor and Chief, comma, HR and Elvia regarding collective bargaining processes, etc.
Yeah,
Okay.
HR and Elvia regarding collective bargaining processes, etc.
Okay.
And if you want to get super technical, collective bargaining, at the first letter of each of those words, it says capital C and capital B for collective bargaining. I don't know if that matters, but.
Okay. And so your question is, was this for a teleconference between the firm and the town?
Yes. That summarizes it. Yes. I assume that this was a charge for some sort of telephone conference, because I assume that the word T in this acronym TCW must stand for telephone conference, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's for something else. So that is my question.
Yeah, I don't know either. So I've never seen
Right.
that. So was this for a teleconference between the firm and town? Okay, so that's your first question on that entry.
Well, and just to keep things simple, because I don't like muddying the waters if I don't have to, that's going to be my only question for today. I'm going to have other questions in the future about either this charge or other expenses or just other issues, but for today, especially since I know you guys are about to go home, that's what my phone call is about today, and that's my question for today.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information. I know that Nicole and Desiree usually work on these requests to do backup. I've done them before. I know I've worked with you before on prior requests, and I will send them. And also Sylvia, I'm assuming, worked on this as well. But I will let her know that you had a follow-up question regarding, and you said this was from early June. Is that when you put in your request, or is that when you received the documents?
No. In fact, I got the email right here in front of me, and it's from Nicole. And so the exact time that she sent this email was May 2nd, 2024 at 11:35 a.m. I think that's 11:35 a.m. my time. Anyway, May 2nd, 2024, Nicole Hip Follower released, working on behalf of the law firm and the town government. She released this document to me, which was, releasable documents of legal expenses that was charged to the town government based on the specific request that I made. And the date that I made that request, I'm looking at that right here, I made that request on April 17th, 2024.
Okay, that helps. Okay. So this is your April 17th, 2024 request. The documents were released on May 2nd. Okay, that'll help me track down. And I will get them this information because I do not know what you know what that stands for.
Right, that acronym, all capitals, TCW, like that's the phone call's about. And like you said, you don't know what that acronym means. I don't know what that acronym.
You're saying P like Paul or T like Tom?
Yeah, Tom, Charlie, Walter. So
that's what
I assume
took.
that
Okay.
means, yeah.
Okay. I'll get this information to Nicole, and someone will have to get back with you. And I know that you prefer email, so she can respond to you.
Yes, ma'am, and I appreciate you being patient and basically taking like a shorthand note of everything that I've said. But one other thing that I'd like to add to this, if you could write this down as well, is that, and of course the lawyers already know this, but I'm letting everybody know, whoever deals with this situation right up front, that I'm well aware that the question I'm submitting today verbally by phone and what I'm asking for, that this does not trigger the Texas Public Information Act. This is not an open records request. It's not a legal open records request. This is literally just me as a town resident verbally making or verbally asking a question to the town government and the town government's law firm about this information, which I obtained via a previous open records request. But
Right.
now that I have that open records request, I'm simply just asking a question, which legally doesn't have to be answered, but I'm asking it.
Right. So you understand, right? Legally doesn't have to be answered. Okay. And so you understand that it doesn't legally have to be answered, and it's not a new public information request either, because you understand that it has to be put in writing.
Yes, for the average layperson on the street, they probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But both you and I are well aware that you either trigger the law or you don't trigger the law. So with this phone call and the question I'm asking, I have not triggered the law. I have not triggered the Texas Public Information Act. This is not an open records request. It's just a question.
Okay. All right.
And I guess that's the last sentence, and I know you got to go home, but if you could just write that I'm asking this question, in the name of government transparency. So I hope the town government and the law firm can answer it. So
sure.
That's what I hope that they can do, is they can answer it based in the name of government transparency.
Okay. All right. We'll get this information.
All right, and I'm sorry, how do I pronounce your name again? It's been a long day.
Melinda.
Melinda, yes. So thank you for everything, Melinda. Thank you for working till the last minute. And I'll be in touch, and I'll just wait for somebody to email me back.
Okay. All right. I'll let them know.
Have a great afternoon.
Okay. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, goodbye.